The Shameless Sex podcast is a very courageous thing. You're pioneering new stuff. It's new territory, right? It's like where people don't necessarily want to go, but they secretly really do want to go there.
All right, everyone, is interview time, and we are here with repeat guests, Alicia and Erwan Davon. And I wish I knew the number of how many episodes they've been on, but I was looking the other day, actually, it was I think it's 8 or something. So
they're
you may
in our book too, right?
You're in our book.
8? They've been on 8?
I was an estimate 6 to 8, but you've probably been on a show more than most guests and maybe all of them. And we've covered everything from kissing to anal sex to oral sex on oral and hand sex on pussies and on cocks, all kinds of things.
Wait, remember when we were live in their studio?
Oh, yeah.
Where they practice
extended orgasm,
and we witnessed it with our own 2 eyes.
We were about 2 to 3 feet away from Alicia's lovely pussy.
Yeah, it was fun.
Meaning, well, we are often when we hang out with them, but she had no clothes on and had a lot of orgasms in front of us. So you should listen to these 2 because they're highly skilled. So this episode is about, I guess we could say body positivity, but insecurities when it comes to sex and your body, which I wish I could do a raise of hands for all of our listeners to see who can't relate to that. Because I imagine 99.9999% of people would have some story about how they can relate to that.
Even the person that we recorded with, Matt Barr, who has the world's largest
medically verified natural penis.
Sorry.
Wow.
There are insecurities even in his realm too.
So big insecurities.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Well, he's 14.2 inches long. So he was talking about, the insecurities and about how it can affect just sexuality, but also your overall feeling of confidence. And we're not just talking about dicks today, everyone. We're talking about body insecurities in general, which I think is a really important topic. So for our listeners who don't know who you 2 lovely humans are, maybe they're new to Shameless Sex and maybe they're not. Can you please tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
I'll start. So there was a time in my life, I was around 20-ish, maybe 22. And I was in a master's program, studying psychology, training to be a therapist. And my friend in my program said, Alicia, you got to meet this guy, Erwan. I think you're going to like him. And I said, okay. And she takes me to his apartment. And as I walk into his apartment, I feel like I'm coming onto 5 hits of acid. I feel really high. He's teaching this group of, people doing these intimacy games and communication stuff. And he looked adorable in his judo pants and his Uggs and his scruffy face. I'm like, ooh, he's totally my type.
There's San Francisco.
It was in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, we started dating. And then eventually I said, well, Erwan, you have to let me visit one of these courses you teach, because he was teaching these intimacy courses and pleasure courses. So I was there, sitting there in this course that he's teaching in front of all these people. And there was a moment where Erwan said to the group, you are whole and complete and perfect, exactly as you are. And his words flooded my body with tingles and warmth. And I felt totally whole and complete, exactly as I was in that moment. And that feeling was what led me to want to partner with Erwan and teach together and spread this everywhere. And this was over 20 years ago. And it's kind of perfect what we're talking about today, our body insecurities and that sense that sometimes something's wrong with us. And we just beg to differ.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that brings me back. That really brings me back. I remember, I got here basically by making every possible mistake you could make. I remember in high school, I would comb my hair, straight back after I got out of the shower. It looked great. I didn't know that in the middle of the day, it dried and swelled up. So I had basically the most awful possible haircut or hairstyling you could have. This is embarrassing to say. I broke up with a girl on Valentine's Day by accident. I didn't know it was Valentine's Day.
Wow, that's
I was making, and I lost most of my friends because of that. It was, I made every possible mistake you could make. And, by the time I got to college, I was willing to do anything to repair that. I took courses, I read books, I studied, I got a psychology degree. I literally joined cults. I joined one cult where they took us off to a compound and everybody who didn't live on that compound was called publics. They were the
What cult was it? Come on, the cult.
No, I'm not going to.
Damn it.
I don't want to get shot. Yeah, I really don't.
Let's not have you get shot.
Okay, well, not recording, you have to tell me because I love cult culture, like studying it. Okay,
cool. There were guns and run by a Vietnam veteran.
I don't love that, but I just love learning about it.
I did anything and everything. And I got some really good stuff there and left the other 98%. But the point is, like, I was willing to do anything. And then, Alicia and I got together and, I had some little idea what I was doing when we got together. And the one thing I knew, maybe a tip for all the guys and women, go for it, romantically go for it, get on the court, do stuff. That's how you learn. You got to be on the court. And then it's been since 1995, I've been teaching. A little bit after that, the two of us. And I always wonder, what does that mean? I think it means we found the fountain of youth.
Ah, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely working.
I know. It's
fabulous. And sorry that your hair is no longer doing that fabulous thing. But you know what? It still works.
If you're not watching on YouTube, y'all, you can see he has a nice, beautiful shaved head.
Yeah.
It's not too shorter.
It's funny because I love that you spoke about hair because I'm with a bald man that is very secure in a lot of ways with his body and he works out and stuff, but he's bald. And sometimes he's like, I wish I had hair. And I would have long braids and I'd braid them. I'm like, that's really sweet. And that's body. So body insecurity is a thing. Like I think about that. I'm like, are my tits too small to myself? Right. Or does my pussy hang low? Does it wobble to and fro? Can you tie it in a knot? Can you tie it in a bow?
Let's check it out. We're experts. Yeah. Let's check it out.
April,
I feel like if it does do that, that'd be pretty cool.
But I don't know about. Give me maybe 50 years. God only knows. So that all being said, I know that as Amy mentioned in the beginning, she's like, if you don't have body shame, that's badass. And I do appreciate folks. There's sometimes where you go in waves, right? Where it doesn't exist and you don't shame yourself for your body. But if you're looking at other people on film, even if it's not porn, but just film, you're like, wow, that person's body. I wish, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a specific way. Everybody's different. Some people want that juicy booty. Some people want them big old tits. Some people want that big old cack, or they want like a medium-sized, less girthy. People always want, or they want curly hair, or they want long hair. So to get to a point here, it could be deeply ingrained in people. Body shame. I'm not good enough, right? So what are some common ways this kind of thought process, this sort of feeling manifests in our intimate relationships?
Well, one way that it manifests is people have less sex. If there's body shame, people have less sex, or they have to have sex with the lights off, or they're shy about sex, or they don't communicate during sex, or they're not present during sex. So, it manifests a lot of ways, but the main way would be less sex and less enjoyment of sex.
Well, when we're concerned about some aspect of our appearance, we're in our heads. We're not in our bodies where all the pleasure is.
Totally. Yeah. And that's important to be in. I know you have a lot to say about that. It's important to be in your bodies.
Being in your body is equivalent, the beginning of a large part of being present. And if we're present, we're not, as Alicia said, we're not in our heads. And as Alicia also said in the beginning today, things occur as perfect. If we're not in our heads, things are perfect just the way that they are. It's like I don't want to get spiritual on everybody, but it's like a spiritual revelation. Things are just the way that they are. They're perfect the way that they are. One's body, one's partner's body, one's life, one's problems, one's issues. So, getting out of one's head is the key, really the key. And, one of the simple, to make it practical for folks, have a body practice, a daily body practice. Go to the gym or do yoga or surf or walk around the beach barefoot or walk around your backyard barefoot, but something where we're concentrating to really enter our body. So it's not being at the gym, on a treadmill, reading the paper, looking at a video, really feeling your feet, really feeling your muscles. It gets you out of your head. You feel better. Everybody's had that experience, but it's easy to sort of, forego that and abandon that and get lost in the, the kind of the bad neighborhood that is the human mind.
Mm-hmm. I like listening to our podcast and working out.
Ooh.
Well, I kind of have to because
she have to, yeah.
With the exception of the shameless sex.
Yeah. Like, we even listen to our own podcast.
Well, yeah, just in case, just so make sure it's great for everybody out there. But I will say, I do get in my head. I'm like, fuck, April, why'd you say that? Shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to do. So when I was younger, and maybe this is a question for all of you too, but so when I was younger, I was a late bloomer. I'm now over 5'9" and have some nice titties, everyone. But when I was the late bloomer, kind of like ugly duckling, and I was shorter than all of my friends, and I'm now taller than, completely flat chested, and like everything was just happening later than all the other.
What about your headgear? That was hot.
I had a cool headgear and a neckgear.
I remember that
and
picture.
braces. Yeah. Okay, but I only wore that at night. Okay, I did not wear that to school. But I remember being made fun of for being so like scrawny, skinny, but particularly for being flat chested though. Like that was the thing, right? It was more like, let's target your sexuality, your breasts or something. And so that like I didn't have any. And so I would stuff my bra. I even had friends that discovered I stuffed my bra, and then they made fun of me for that. And they like tortured me for about a week saying, you stuff. Anyways, a year later, I got tits. Nope, didn't pay for them. They came on their own. Everyone all of a sudden was really nice. I think that gave me like a little bit of like a humble mentality around bodies in general, but not just that. Also, my mom, bless her heart, not in the Texas fuck you way. I never heard her talk shit about her body or my body or anyone else's. So I didn't get any of that. Like I'm too fat, or like women should be like this, or men should be like that.
Tall piece, which sometimes people like women get. They're like, I'm too tall. And I'm like, no, great.
I mean, it was annoying because all my pants were high waters, and then, but as I got older, I feel like I had less body shame, mostly because of my mom not putting that on me, like that was in my home environment. But it's a long story, but and I'm curious about you all, what you've experienced personally. So when I was in a relationship in the last decade, I won't say names, but April knows what I'm talking about. I had lost my sex drive for a lot of reasons. One is a lot of hurt, a lot of like cheating and stuff happening on the other person's side, a lot of lying, a lot of looking for women that were better than me. And so my sex drive was already down. And then we had some sort of like disagreement about my sex drive being down. And he said, maybe I'd have more desire for you if you were more fit. And that fucked me up for a while, because I didn't look in the mirror and look at this body like, oh, you need to have better abs or less of this and more of that. And so for like, I remember a couple of weeks, it just like haunted me. I saw myself very differently. And I got out of it, and I got out of that relationship, thank God. But this is my long-winded story of just, even if you have this idea that like, I feel pretty safe and secure in my body, where I mostly love a lot of things about it, all it takes is that one fucking person or experience to comment to derail you, especially in a really vulnerable situation. So I'm just curious, this wasn't on our question list, but for all the three of you, like what have you experienced from like really personal experiences of like body shaming or your own insecurities around your bodies?
I remember being, I don't know how old I was. I think I was like 10 years old. And I was in the bathroom, and I remember, and I don't know where I got this from, especially as a guy, but I was in the bathroom and I looked at my thighs and I thought my thighs were fat, which was like, I don't know where I got that from, but I remember that moment. And, looking back at pictures of me at that time, my thighs were sort of normal size, but there's something in the culture. It's like in the air, it's like in the water, all the advertisements, like advertisements for deodorant are a great example. The implication is people smell bad if they smell natural, and this will fix the wrongness. So, that's the first thing that came to mind for me.
Yeah, I have a story. I think I was in either 5th or 6th grade, and I had been on this softball team, and it was the end of the season, and we were at one of the family's houses. They had this pool, and it was a pool party to celebrate the end of the season. So I was in my little, what do they call those? Monokini, like connected at the sides.
Cute.
And
Love
it. It was so cute. It was like purple on top and silver on the bottom. I was all excited. And then we took a group picture. And then we got the pictures back later because it was, back in the late 80s and 90s.
A little different now.
Right. And then I was looking at the picture with my best friend, and there was like a little belly roll that I had. I was like sitting in the group. You could see the rolls, and my best friend points and she goes, ha, 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 look. Ooh, that really came over me like a total shame. And out of nowhere, there I was concerned about my body.
I hate that shit. That's like, mine's quick too. I like all of these younger stories. And then I was actually married at the time and love him, but I did put on quite a bit of weight from the time that we met until the time that he said this, because I had lived in Israel. I was enjoying a lot of the food that my body wasn't used to. This happened when I lived in Spain as well, because I lived in Sevilla and I was like, I'm going to eat everything. And when your body isn't adjusted to all the olive oil or all of the extra tasty things, I just and I wasn't working out or kind of balancing. I put on a little bit of weight, then it turned into more because I wasn't taking good care of myself because I was working really hard and a lot. So I didn't make time for the things that really brought me joy. Anyway, I was walking into the house one time and I think I ordered fucking Domino's pizza or something. And he's like, you always eat pizza. You're such a potata.
Ooh,
and after
potata.
that, I wouldn't get on top anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Potata. I was always like, I'm a fucking potata. And I remember doing like this mirror gazing thing after like that we actually, our marriage obviously dissolved, but mirror gazing in sexy lingerie with myself, telling myself that I wasn't a potata and that I loved my body and grabbing like the things that maybe would make people uncomfortable, like, the
some rolls, some flesh, some meat.
Yeah, the extra things. Mm-hmm. And that was heavy and it did stick with me for a while. And I remember being really insecure about my body for a long time. I would never be out of my head about my body. Like I'd be with new partners, always in my fucking head about food. And I hate that. And I worked really hard on it, but it still comes up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. It's very ingrained. And there's something about, I love what you said, Erwan, earlier about presence and our perfection in exactly as we are. I mean, I remember being in this pleasure course that Erwan was teaching the first time, and he had said this, you are whole and complete. And I was like, oh my God, yes. And what you said, April, reminded me of this, because there was an exercise that we did on our own for homework in the course where you get in front of the mirror and you look at your naked body exactly as it is and like find something you like and that you can appreciate. And the next morning, this woman came and she had been wearing, it was like middle of summer, so hot. Everybody was wearing like sundresses and stuff. And she had been wearing like pants and like covering her whole body. And she showed up at the course and she was wearing a mini skirt and she had this huge scar over her knee and down her leg from like multiple knee surgeries. And she got up and was like, today is the first day that I love my scar and I'm hiding it for years. I have been avoiding sex for years because I don't want anybody to see it. And she actually moved through that, which is really beautiful because then she could actually enjoy her sex life.
And with a good knee.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly. She can get on top of them because her knee works.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we find with that mirror exercise, it's a great exercise. I'm glad you brought it up, April, is because sometimes people look in the mirror and they try to like something they don't like. And that doesn't quite work. So the way we do it is we have people find things about your body that you like new things. So it could be a little tiny thing like a color, like the color on your fingernail. Or, the way your ear curves, like could be a little thing, could be a color, not the way, because normally we don't see our bodies. We see our concepts of our bodies. We see our conditioning, we see our training, we see our memories, we see our friends saying something, we see advertisements. But if we look in the mirror and we actually see what's in the mirror, we can find things that we like. So that's the key. And then we're kind of on a roll, then we have momentum. And then all of a sudden that knee, oh, well, that's kind of interesting, like with the scar. And like the scar has this like purple color to it. And, all of a sudden we pop out of all of that conditioning and we have what we call objective perception. And it's also key to have that for a long lasting relationship because, we're all going to get older. right? We normally teach, Master of Relationship or the Pleasure Course or whatever to people of all ages, but sometimes we teach it to elders. And, the biggest thing they have to get over is the whole cultural conversation about being older and their bodies and all the rest of this. Once they get over that, which they do on the first day, then they have as much turn on and excitement and sexuality as anybody else. Maybe they don't lube up as much. Maybe they don't look like some stereotype thing. Maybe hormones are a little different, but the capacity to be turned on and sexual is, equal with a body that's older or with a scar on a knee or anything like that. And that's necessary to have that breakthrough for a long lasting relationship.
We're talking about, I think most of the things we've been speaking to are visible, right? Like to other people, that they can be like, oh, there's, your bigger thighs, and it's so I think there's all kinds of body shame. And a lot of times it is based on visible aspects, like meaning visible, like if I walk down the street, you can see the thing that you might be judging or I judge myself. But it seems like a lot of it is invisible, meaning if I have pants on, you don't know about the shame I have around my bits. And so like bringing that
bits
to
your tits too.
Bits or tits. Well, tits might be a little more obvious, but
man tits too. People are like, oh
yeah, bigger nipples. Yeah. And so, but like speaking to genitals, so what are some of the common misconceptions or stereotypes about genitals? And I know that we know about all of them, but maybe we can like visit some of them. And we talked about how we did like the big dick episode that wasn't just like saying big dicks are amazing, that can actually be really difficult. I almost said hard. You see what I did there? So yeah, what about the genitals, or maybe like why the genitals? Why are the genitals such a challenging place for people to feel comfortable within themselves?
Well, people are really, really, really interested in sex, really, really, really interested in each other. So it's like a high stakes game, high stakes. And when something is high stakes, it can easily sort of fall off a cliff, or we can get shy, or all the ego defenses, all that kind of stuff can come up. So that's why it sort of plays out with sex and genitals and even romantic relationship and all that kind of stuff. For example, the Shameless Sex podcast is a very courageous thing. You're pioneering new stuff. It's new territory, right? It's like where people don't necessarily want to go, but they secretly really do want to go there, right? So same thing with sex. And it's just, I think everything I just said just means it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the common, for guys, penis size, the importance of that is overemphasized. I think there's a lot of sort of just general, people wouldn't necessarily say it consciously, but I think women's genitals, there's just kind of like a sort of general criticism. Oh, they, aren't quite right. Or they don't smell right or look right or something, but people wouldn't overtly say that, but it's kind of sort of just in there in the culture, although that's probably what people are the most interested in, of anything. I can't think of anything I'm more interested in than
genitals.
I'm happy about that.
I've heard dude friends call things pretty pussy. I don't want to interrupt you, but pretty pussies. And I thought about that. We're like, oh yeah, I heard this person has a really pretty pussy because my friend hooked up with her. And I'm like, that fucked with my head too. I'm like, what does that mean? Can you show me an image of a pretty pussy? Because I've seen hers and it, looks great. But like, what makes it pretty to you, right? I think all pussies are pretty.
I love that you brought up the image or the picture. I was working with a woman recently, and she, like many of us as women, she had never really looked at her pussy in detail. She never knew she could. She kind of wanted to, but felt ashamed, all of this. And then she said, well, do all of them look the same? Or, how does mine compare to others? And then I just searched up, women's genitalia or something and shared the screen with her on Zoom. And we were looking at all of these different beautiful pussies that were different sizes and shapes and colors. And it really had her see that there's all sorts of pussies and they're all different. And some one image of a perfect pussy just doesn't even really exist.
And a pussy is inherently beautiful, intrinsically beautiful, because we all love it. And because it's such a source of pleasure. And because there are so many nerve endings.
I think I have some gay friends that would be like, I don't know if I love it, but
they can appreciate the flower.
They're
like, keep it over there, but I like it.
They don't even touch it or see it, but they might, right. Yeah.
Good for you.
Okay.
It's kind of like, well, I'll use a sort of easy example, like a pussy cat, right? Like a little kitten, right? Yeah. Like, there are cats that are missing a leg, or there are cats that are like, have scars or something like that. But if you love your cat or you love your kitten, you don't look at the cat and you don't experience it as ugly, no matter, even if it's one of those bald cats.
I love those. Those are I fucking love those.
The bald cat brings me to the pubic hair thing, though. So, speaking of friends who maybe it's our same friend who will tell you about this pretty pussy. We have a friend who, or I do, no, we do, and has shown me photos of other pussies, and I was like, "Is this consensual? Can I look at this pussy?" Because like,
were they random pussies?
No, it was like an ex-girlfriend's pussy and a current one.
Wow. Okay.
But I'm friends with ex-girlfriends. So I think it's anyways.
Okay.
But the perfect pussy is like, it's so beautiful. Look how perfect. I was like,
this was a dude?
Yeah.
I thought it was okay.
I was like, it has no hair. It is completely silky smooth and bald, which is fine. It's totally fine.
No, so there's no ingrown hair looking things either?
No, just like, I don't know if they got laser. I don't know what happened. But like, so, and I wasn't like, bro, you're fucking me up, because he didn't fuck me up. I'm like, I love my pussy with hair on it. And I've worked to get to that place in my 20s. I'm in my late 30s now. I'm all about it. But so I just, kind of what you were saying, April, like, who decides what a pretty pussy is, or pretty cock, or perfect, whatever. It's just up to your own taste. And there's a way, I think, to talk about things that isn't just like, this is the best. Mm-hmm. Instead, this is the best for me. Right. Instead of like, this is what it should be.
Yeah, because I've talked to that, I think, the same friend, and I got a kind of fucking offended. I didn't see the pictures, but I was like, bro, I'm like, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great pussy, but I think most pussies are great. I haven't touched them all. They're my friends, but.
Well, there's a lot of possibility there, April, for you.
Yeah.
New horizons. Yes.
The future.
I can see the Shameless Sex movie.
Yeah. Well,
April just finally touches all the pussies.
Right? Yeah.
She needs more hands.
Well, okay, wait. So off topic, but on topic. In terms of penises, because we can't make this all about pussies. Like, are you all, meaning penis owners, and Erwan, because you're right here as one, dudes in bathrooms, because you have the stalls that you can see each other's
where this is going.
Do you look at each other's, obviously flaccid, because you have to be kind of flaccid to pee? Do you like check each other out, but like casually? And not that, but that's not a thing.
It's kind of like a thing. You don't do that. You can get beaten up in some bathrooms.
Okay. What about locker rooms? NFL players, because they're naked
in locker rooms, yeah. Like
I would definitely,
like without sort of being obvious about it, but in a locker room type situation, yes. In urinals, pretty much no. In a locker room, people are a little less stranger. There's not the barrier.
They're a team.
Over. Right. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. I've asked my partner that. He gave me the same answer. So I'm happy that it's all consistent.
Yeah. Or if you get like an accidental peek, you're like, oh shit, I gotta look the other way now.
Okay, if we had open stalls, I'd be checking fucking pussies out. I'm sorry.
Oh, easy to see. Okay, anyway,
and
sorry.
If we had open stalls with every gender, I would be checking out just like how people pee. I don't know.
Well, we have a pussy here. Maybe we'll show it to you later.
There you go. Oh yeah, you got a pussy on YouTube.
And we have a cock here too.
Hey, don't hate us, YouTube. Don't hate us.
No, it's fine.
Oh.
Okay. Oh
no, you're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Image over it.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. So how do you guide individuals, because you have so much experience, both of you, decades and decades. How do you guide individuals to embrace their bodies regardless of the societal standards, like this that's always shifting, by the way? If you look at body types and preferred body types of women, especially in the 20s versus the 90s versus the 2000s versus the now, it's very, very different. So how do you help people get past these standards of conditioning, and how can they begin to just to dismantle this?
Yeah. So I'll say something that is like a cliche term, but I think that a lot of cliches are cliches because they're so helpful. That it's an inside job. And this is what I mean by that. Our bodies, especially the female body, but both bodies, all bodies, are capable of feeling so much pleasure, physically and sensually. And so I found in our work with both men and women, singles and couples, when a person gets more sensually in touch with their body and the potential to feel a lot of pleasure, they tend to start to love their body more because of how it feels and the pleasure that comes from it. It's kind of like, we were talking about pussies and cocks a few minutes ago. I mean, a pussy that is feeling a lot and is alive is gorgeous, even more so than how it looks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's the direct experiencing. We just taught a tantric superpowers course 2 days ago. And, some of the tantric superpowers are like being invisible, levitating, this kind of stuff. Right. So and we had an hour to do it. We're at this Banya sort of
all day party.
All day party. What does Banya mean in English?
Banya is like a sauna.
Sauna, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got 100 people in the room, and I got to teach them to be invisible, and I have an hour, right?
Good luck.
Wow, I was just gonna say,
right? That's a big ask,
yeah.
Right? So we get people really sensing their body, really being with each other, and then their sense of self, their conditioned self, goes away, and they're just present.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, it's not like you become invisible. Like if somebody takes a picture with their iPhone, you'll be in the picture, but the direct experience is of not being there. There's just everything else. Or if we're doing light touch, like touching somebody's body without touching, kind of like Reiki or some energy kind of touch, the experiences of being very, very light, like being weightless.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if we put the person on the scale, still going to weigh whatever they weigh. So it's the direct experiencing. That's the key versus as we said earlier, the being in a person's head. I'll give you another example since we were talking about penis size. Guys over worry about penis size. Mm-hmm. What matters during, let's say, intercourse for the woman to be pleasured by the man's penis is she engorged? Mm-hmm. If she's engorged, then her pussy is going to really wrap around the cock, and there's going to be a lot of sensation for the woman and for the man. If she's not engorged, and I have a prop here, a bag. If she's not engorged, it's like this.
You two will like this.
Yeah.
YouTube will really like the bag.
Yeah, they will.
The penis.
It just blew up a paper bag, y'all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, here's the opening of the vagina, the introitus. And then if she's not engorged, it's like a big open space. The penis goes in and not much is felt by the woman or the man. If she's engorged, it really will wrap around his cock. He'll feel a lot more and she'll feel a lot more.
So all that spongy tissue, right? That's
right. Pushing on the cock. So she's feeling, he's feeling that. So the pleasure, the engorgement, the turn on is infinitely more important than the penis size.
Yeah.
Are you going to reuse that bag?
Pack me a lunch for
That's what I used to masturbate after.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's
a crinkly effect.
To the point. Well, I like what you said. So a lot of people's body insecurities, or I guess I was talking about the genital based ones when we're talking about penises and pussies. It's actually inaccurate about, because they were talking about, the size, and that means that you're a real man and then the sex will be better, but really it's actually about getting your partner turned on more. So it's actually not about you. I mean, it's about what you can do or be a part of, but it's not really just about who came up with the idea that it's all about, I mean, it's been going on for a long time, that it's all about the cock. The cock is responsible for all the pleasure. Wait, it's only big dicks.
Wait, didn't we talk about big balls being a thing back in different eras? There were big testicles. Testicles were more important than the actual shaft.
The sign of
penis.
Manhood.
Of man.
It wasn't about the
fertility and wealth. And it was. And I will look it up because we don't have a Jamie like Joe Rogan. I will look it up.
But now, but now there are people with big balls who love their big balls, and there's people with insecurities. Though
they were bred for that. They were like,
big balls. I like that point.
The insecurity, were you going to say that?
Yeah, well, you finish.
The insecurities work against the shame, or the insecurities work against the turn on and the pleasure and the enjoyment, because If somebody disapproves of you, is that going to turn you on? Is that going to, for a woman, engorge her pussy? No, it's not. Is that going to get a guy's cock hard? No. In fact, it's one of the biggest sources of erectile dysfunction is the woman or the man is disapproving of in this case, the man, but it can also be the source of a woman not lubricating well or not engorging well because she or he is disapproving. So the disapproval is not representative of reality. It's a turn off. It defeats the whole purpose.
One of my childhood best friends almost got divorced over this because she was not lubing up naturally well enough, right? He thought that she should be lubing up better. And that was really coming from an insecurity on his part that he's not doing enough to get her aroused. She thought, oh my God, something's wrong with my pussy. And I still remember her calling me, being like, Alicia, something's wrong. I don't know who to talk to about this. I'm not lubricating enough. And like Scott says that maybe this isn't going to work out. There's a whole thing in their relationship. It was like falling apart over the pussy lubrication. And I said, just buy some lube and use it and be done with it.
Yeah.
He was like, really? That's okay? I'm like,
that's all it takes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. 100%.
I have an update for everyone out there that cares. The ancient Greeks, those fuckers, I love them. They idealized the small penis as a sign of masculinity. That's why when you see these sculptures, they have small penises.
Big balls.
Big balls.
Big balls.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Yeah. Time, everyone. Like, yeah. And then also like bring it to other cultures, right? Like we live in, well, we're all in California and like, but in the United States, breasts are, well, it kind of goes in like fake, like big breasts are
Miami, big breasts are
yeah, but
huge.
Like in a lot of other cultures, breasts are not sexual. They're not a part of like, oh, you're a sexy woman or a sex object. It's just like, oh, you're a mother, or there's other aspects to it, and it's not like just this. I mean, they could be like lovely feeding bags. I know it's like gold. What's happening in there?
There's people that are obsessed with like clavicles, like what your clavicle looks like, right?
Oh, someone with clavicle shame's not feeling good right now about that.
Well, I know. Well, this is the thing. It's. I have friends, a lot of dude friends that have broken their clavicles and talked about like snowboarding friends, mountain biking friends that's a common break. God, I would hate that.
The most common break.
Yeah, it is. And I don't necessarily think they have a deep insecurity, but they have talked about how the clavicle shape of their own body as a dude, as all of them are hetero that I'm referring to, but that can be a thing. And I don't know, there's so many different ways, but let's get to a question because I know we have to wrap up. I love talking to you too, and you three with Amy, but let's talk about like moving forward. So how do you help people stay like connected during these times when they're getting down with their partner and these moments that the body shame starts creeping in where they're like, oh no, my clavicle, or oh no, my pussy scar, or oh no, my balls, they're not like the ancient Greeks. So this being said, that's the first question. The second piece is, what if someone has years of feeling disconnected or ashamed? Can they overcome that? And if so, the steps. So those two pieces.
So I'll start and then you can add in. There's a couple that I have been working with and we're all going to laugh about this because she had this huge insecurity. She said, I'm almost 40. Like I'm old now and I'm not attractive anymore. I'm like, girl, like what you talking to?
Yeah.
So she had a big insecurity and she'd always get into her head when she and her husband were about to be intimate. And so what I did was I said, okay, we were on Zoom. They live across the country. I said, take me into your bedroom. And so they brought their computer with me on Zoom into their bedroom. I said, set it up so I can see you. They were clothed. And then I had her lie down and I had her husband, sit up by her side. And I told him, put your hands on her body, like on her heart and on her belly right now. And he's like, okay. And he did that. He's a very willing participant. And then I asked her, I go, what are you feeling now? And she's like, I'm just in my head and I'm in my head. And then I talked them through him continuing to touch her and her asking him to touch her on the belly and this and that. And she started to get turned on. And then I said something like, okay, tell us, what are you feeling now? She's like, I don't think I can say that here, what I'm feeling. I'm feeling really good. And I'm like, this is great. So it was through literal physical touch and her surrendering to that. And then those insecurities just started to fade into the background.
Yeah, we have a set of exercises. For example, one of them is the mirror exercise. There's other ones people can do if they're single, in terms of setting the room up for themselves, and, just a whole bunch, all the way to masturbation and extending pleasure and extending orgasm for couples. These practices, these touching practices that Alicia talked about, communication practices, how to narrate during sex. That really gets somebody else out of their head, and the person who's narrating really out of their head, because you're focused on what you're doing and you're focusing the other person's mind on what they're doing. So there's a whole set of couples practices and individual practices and positions and all kinds of stuff. And some of the principles are doing it gradually. Right. People tend to kind of jump into bed and then almost go into shock, and, who knows what happens. Right. But, kind of gradually building it up so that, they get used to being comfortable physically in a position. They get used to talking. They learn how to touch in a slow, light way. So it's it's not overwhelming them. And then with that kind of gradual build, we can move people to very, very high levels of sensation, very high levels of turn on, and even to extended orgasm. That's kind of our, sort of our house specialty.
The fireworks.
Yeah, the house specialty. Yeah, well, and
the soup du jour. Sorry,
the soup du jour.
That's what we start our day with every day.
That's the soup of the day.
Yeah, like the house red. Just kidding. I like that. So we're talking about how touch in itself can be a really healing process for our bodies, for getting into our bodies, to kind of like really dropping into sensuality and sexuality. And April has a nipple pillow that she's slowly. It's actually a giant breast, but it has no shame. It's only been loved. And April's giving it touch right now to show it that it is wonderful. But she's going to go really slow, everyone, because if she goes really fast, it might bypass this part of the body that's needing more love and tenderness to feel safe and there and accepted. Okay. We have to transition. Lots of really wonderful information here. And y'all this is what you do for a living, not just this topic. You do a lot of different things. And I know your house specialty, the soup du jour, is extend orgasms. But you have workshops coming up. You work privately with couples, with individuals. You have a full-scale retreat in beautiful Sayulita, Mexico in January 2024. That is a Tantra retreat for couples and individuals.
And Alicia can come into your bedroom via the computer. And that's cool.
But we will do demonstrations, and it's in 2025.
Oh, sorry, 2025. Sorry. It's 2024 right now. That's the future.
1994.
I thought April's saying that you'll go in their bedrooms at the retreat. I was like, that's awesome.
Well, I don't know. I won't throw that out there.
Add a bonus.
Come into our bedroom.
There are demos. They will watch three demonstrations.
Yes, we will witness 3 demonstrations. Extended orgasm. You'll come to us. We will not come into your bedroom.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's safe.
Yeah.
That's safer.
Can you share more about all of these things, how people can find you, work with you, come to your retreat, sign up for all the things?
Yes. So we're based in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have lots of ways you can come participate with us here. We also have lots of ways you can work with us virtually. The private coaching is a favorite, for people that find us through you guys. So there's that. And then, like you said, the Paradise Vacation course is happening January 2025. And it's for both singles and couples. We only have 5 spots left. One of those spots is a partial work trade assisting at the course opportunity. So that might be interesting for somebody listening. Here's how I like to describe it. If you want a vacation where you feel healthier, more turned on, and more alive at the end of it, this is for you. If you want a deep dive into yoga and breath work and tantric practice, and like you said, seeing some demonstrations of extended orgasm, and this is definitely for you. And if you want to have the best time with the best people. Mm-hmm. So we're super excited. And the way to find out about it is to either text You can text 415-308-9580. That's 415-308-9580. Or you can click the link that will give you for the show notes. You can set up a time to talk to me about it or about the coaching. We'll send you a 2-minute video that paints the picture of how the retreat's going to go. It's a lot of fun to watch. And you can find us at davonmethod.com and on Instagram and TikTok at Davon Method.
Now, we have an unusual last name. How do you spell that?
Davon, Davon.
It's true.
I remember the first time we met you guys. You're like, so do you know how to pronounce our name?
Well, also because I was saying, I think I was saying Erwan. I can't remember. And then I was so happy that you correct. And I think I said Felicia because I was like, it's not
Erwan and Felicia Davon.
I was like, no. And thankfully it's Erwan and Alicia Davon. And it actually is really easy.
That's super easy.
Yeah.
It's not just the 8 episodes.
Because I wouldn't put a Y in there. It doesn't make sense. It's Davon.
Right.
So this was, I think, one of my favorite episodes that we've done. I laughed. My tummy kind of hurts from laughing. I think I got an ab workout because we were laughing, which is going to help.
But she didn't need one because no body shame, you know?
No, I have no body shame. I do have bladder shame because I have to use Lulu. Gotta be. So thank you for sharing all of this, and your retreat sounds incredible, and 5 spots is not a lot. So if anyone is interested, listen up, look at davonmethod.com. And is it the Davon Method? No, davonmethod.com.
Yeah, there you go.
And you can find all of the things. And if you want to find more of the Davons, they are in our book featured in a couple of chapters, but one of the juiciest chapters, as well as possibly 6 episodes, which
6 to 8.
I might be more. This might be the 8th. So that is cool. You can just search Davon, Davon, in the search bar on our website or on your favorite podcast app. But while you're doing the searching, go ahead and rate us, review us, give us 5 stars because it does help more people. And this is free. Find resources to help enhance their sex life, help them have the best sex and relationships that they've always desired, or just improve what they already are having an amazing time with. So with that, I will see you next Tuesday. Oh, maybe not.
9 episodes. This is episode
wow. 69 episodes.
Oh,
69 episodes.
This will be number 10.
Yeah,
we've never had anyone with more episodes.
Yep, this is number 10.
Holy holy!
This was so fun.
So
I think
fun.
this might be my favorite one.
Yes.
It's interesting. Where there's the most insecurity, there's the most potential.
Yeah, right. And
Amen.
also sharing personal stories. I know we don't want to make it all about that, but it makes it more relatable. And I enjoy it because I like, not that I like that you guys have had insecurities. I just like hearing real life stuff.
Me too. Are you ready for me to show you my pussy?
Yeah.
Tune in, YouTube.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you next Tuesday, y'all. Ciao for now.
Love you.